Welcome back to Travel Like an Oching. First of all, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. I know it's a little bit past, and a Happy New Year. That's coming up. Today is the last day of the year, and I certainly wanted to make sure that I posted a video that kind of summed up my last three cruises that I took on Virgin, Royal, and Carnival. I think this will be fun. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it as much as I did putting it together. I do have several other videos coming out based off of my three cruises that I'll break out individually. But for now, I'm going to walk you through my best of and my worst of. I'm going to focus on the best. Now, mind you, this is only on three cruise lines, so I don't want you to get overly invested in my criticisms, but at least it's something for you to look out for the next time you're ready to cruise. So I'm going to read you my categories, and then we'll begin right after that. Best burger, best Italian restaurant, best pizza, best pool, best jacuzzi, best private island, best balcony cabin, best cocktails, best pool towel policy. That's a mouthful. I'm glad I got it out. Best gingerbread village, best towel animals, and finally, my statement on what I think the best overall cruise line is out of the three I'm talking about. A lot to cover. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. More after this. In my excitement to bring you the latest and greatest on Travel Like an Oching, I did forget to mention two other categories, which I want to mention now, just so you're prepared for them. Best steak or steakhouse, and best excursion. Enjoy. I'm so excited to bring this to you, talking about all the things that went on during the cruise. Okay, I have a scale. So the way the scale works is I have a list of all the categories I mentioned in the opening, I have a scorecard. And as I talk about these things and then ultimately give a score to them, you will be able to follow along in the video. So just look at what the rating is and where it's at. Now remember, this is all my opinion, all in fun, based off of three cruises on three different types of ships. So I will say that up front. I'm going to try to be brutally honest with my reviews. So I am saying what I feel about these things. And if you have any questions, please leave those questions in the comment section and I will answer them. Before we begin, let me take a sip of this lovely adult beverage that I made for myself. For all of you keeping track at home, this is a Cosmo. Cheers. Happy New Year. Tasty. Okay, let's begin. My first category, best burgers. Now, I like to do this one first because it's dearest to my heart. One of the first things I do whenever I get on any cruise ship is to immediately go and try out their burger selections. From that one activity, it's going to give me a true litmus test on how the rest of the cruise is going to go and how I'm going to enjoy the fare as I go along. The order in which I went on the ships were Virgin first, Royal second, and then Carnival third. Now, I'm not necessarily going to talk about them in that order, but just in general, keep that in your head because that's the order by which I went about the cruising and did my reviews. Now, I'm going to talk about what I found the most intriguing about this burger that I ultimately loved. I love a nice burger that has texture to it and height and complexity to it, right? So I want to see plenty of meat. I want toppings. I want the cheese that's nice and gooey and oozing. I also want a bun that stands up to that type of sandwich. And the best one in that category, based off of what I think is a great burger, was clearly Royal Caribbean. Now I'm going to provide pictures of each of these right here, just so you can get a look at what I'm talking about. But it has every element for the perfect burger for me. In my case, I chose to put on chili, some caramelized onion, and just your basic ketchup and mayo on the burger. as well as having a double patty. It's a wonderful creation, by far the best. Now, let me talk a little bit about the one that I ranked the worst. And it's not the worst because it wasn't good. And that was on Virgin's ship. So on Virgin's ship, and this is a bait and switch on you, because the burger I had on Virgin ship was actually a Beyond Meat type of burger. It wasn't a meat burger. Don't let that fool you for a minute. It was a delicious burger. So when I'm talking about burgers, it's a real fine line, and I have to put them in a rank order. And unfortunately, the Virgin one is the bottom of that list only because it's not a beef burger. But look at this burger. It's awesome. The patty itself tasted like real meat. It didn't have the height that I wanted in terms of bun to burger ratio. It didn't have that height I wanted. But the taste was, incredible. And a secret, if you order this burger, you can order bacon. That's what made this thing the best, that I was able to order the bacon. And it was quite good. Coming in the middle is, of course, the burger on Royal. I liked it, but it's basically a chain burger, right? So Royal has Johnny Rockets on board. We all know Johnny Rockets. And it's kind of a chain restaurant. So the burger had the height. It had the taste. It just didn't have the panache that the burger on Carnival, the Guy's Burger, had. So starting off this evaluation, when it comes to burgers, we do have a winner with Carnival, and this is the result of the tally so far. All right, next what I want to talk about is the Italian restaurants. So on all three ships, they had a dedicated Italian restaurant, and I love Italian food. It's some of the best cuisine on the planet. There are others, but Italian is certainly one of my top ones. And on each of these ships, they had a certain venue that highlighted these Italian tastes, and I wanted to go over those with you. So right off the jump, I will say that the most authentic and most enjoyable time I had was on Royal. They have an Italian restaurant, which is part of their specialty dining, which was incredible. I mean, right from the beginning, I had a seat outside that was right next to a Spanish guitar player, live music. It was beautiful. I can't even remember what night at sea we were at, but the ocean breeze going. They have it in this atrium, just beautiful, great ambiance. Really enjoyed the meal. It was well paced. Can't say anything better about that experience. The staff was on top of their game. They attended to me every moment. The food tastes awesome. I don't know what else to say other than this was a very enjoyable experience. The best by far. So much so that I went to this restaurant twice during my cruise. One earlier on, and finally on my last night of the cruise, because I had such a great time. And I will tell you that it wasn't a case of diminishing returns. The restaurant delivered on all cylinders, even the second time around. Now, this is a far cry different from my worst experience when I was on a cruise, and that had to do with Virgin Voyages, unfortunately. Now, their Italian restaurant was okay. The decor was very nice. I thought that the presentation was okay. Didn't really get a good vibe from that restaurant. The staff was fine. They were friendly. I mentioned in an earlier review that all the staff on Virgin was absolutely perfect, and they were. I really didn't get a good feel for the restaurant. Now, the food was okay, right? So you'll see in some of the pictures, one of the things that was really good was the cheese board. I really enjoyed that. And my pasta was delicious. It was homemade, but I felt the sauce was a little salty. Now, I know that's a taste thing, but my bolognese was on the salty side, and it was a little off-putting. The wine that they recommended was really good, and the dessert offering was really good. So I will say that. But in terms of my rankings, I'm going to put them Virgin at the bottom. Now, right in that sweet spot middle was Carnival. And I'll tell you, Carnival came close to being my number one. Carnival did a great job about getting the food out, looking appetizing. The staff was falling all over themselves to make sure I was comfortable. There are some things that I wish would change in the Carnival setup that I didn't like, but these things take nothing away from the great food and service I got. So one of the things that I didn't like is the fact that the Italian restaurant shares a space with the Asian themed restaurant to the left, and in the very back there's a Cuban piano bar in the back where they do live Cuban music. Now, although it is a dedicated space for the Italian eatery, it's not isolated. So I heard all the clatter and clanging going on over in the other kitchen. I also heard, I had my meal later in the evening, and there was merengue and salsa and Cuban music and the bongos and all the noise going on. Great music, by the way, loved it. But it ruined my Italian evening, right? So on the speakers in the Italian restaurant, they did have Italian music, and it was calm and soothing. But however, as the night progressed and the music had to do battle with the various clubs in the back and to the left of the Italian club, the Italian restaurant, it didn't work out too well. That's the only negative thing I have to say. Other than that, the food was great, excellent portion sizes. The timing of service was immaculate. They constantly checked in on with me. Great wine offering and wine suggestion. It was a great restaurant. I actually met the manager, and he was so kind. He even offered me a free drink, which I gladly took. And, what can I say? It was really, really good. It's just that you have to have a number one and a number two. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, Royal is in my number one spot, close to Carnival being in my number two, and a distant third would be the Virgin, unfortunately. Before moving on to my next category, let's take a look at what the score looks like now. Circling back to that whole I love Italian food theme is my next topic that I want to talk about, and that is the best pizzeria. Yes, it's related, but it is different. You have access to this food off eating hours. So if you're in between meals or you need something really quick and something to satiate you, midday, middle of the night, so forth and so on, you want a quick eatery that's going to be fulfilling and delicious. And all three cruise lines delivered on this point. However, there is some separation amongst them all. I will say one of the things that separated my number one pick from my number three pick is the fact that one ship shut their pizzeria down significantly earlier than the others, and that is a no-no in my book. And one that stands out on top of all of them is the Carnival Pizzeria. And the reason being is it's 24 hours. Yes, I said it, 24 hours of lovely pizza pies. Please take a look at some of the offerings they had. Some of the things I like about the pizza. The sauce tastes really good. It's not that generic kind of tomatoey sauce that tends to be on pizzas. I did find out on that taste on one of the ones I will be talking about. We'll get to that. They were very happy to process your pizza expeditiously. I noticed that on some of the other ships, and it could be because of the limited number of staff and COVID stuff. I doubt it, but I did notice that people who ordered pizzas for their cabins always took precedent over people who were standing there trying to get a pizza. It seemed like the Carnival staff didn't do that. They were easily ready to make you a small personal pizza pie. So I certainly enjoyed that from Carnival. Not to mention, I think they had the best diversity in types of pizzas to get. Let's move into my number two spot. So taking number two would be Royal. Now, I was disappointed because at first I had access to the Royal Pizzeria as it stands now, and it was the best until I had Carnival. And the thing I liked about it, or like about it, is the fact that it stays open pretty late. Not 24 hours, but certainly late. at least 2 a.m. If I had my druthers, and Royal would adopt a 24-hour pizza oven policy. They haven't yet, so I'm not going to hold my breath. But the thing I like about the pizza on Royal is when you did a cheese pull, you had an actual separation of the slice and cheese, and you could actually see it. So they were pretty liberal about the cheese they used, and they used a high quality cheese to be able to get a good cheese pull like that. So I really enjoyed the Royal Pizzeria. Another thing about the Royal Pizzeria is it was really easy to order various toppings. They didn't have as many toppings as Carnival, but the toppings they did have, they really packed it on your slice so that you didn't feel that they were trying to spread it thin and try to stretch it out. It really was a good looking pie. Now let's move into my number 3. And unfortunately, Virgin falls into that category. I was really disappointed with the Virgin Pizzeria on multiple levels. I'll probably dedicate an entire vlog to that, a shorter length, of course, to explain to you kind of the bad experience I had there on the first night. One positive note I will say about the Virgin Pizzeria, they have a cooler right next to the counter where you order, and you can get beer. So that was one place that you can grab beer. That's not to say you can't get beer at the other 2 places. At least in Carnival's situation, you had to go to a separate spot to get your beer at the bar. And in Royal's case, there is a bar associated with the pizzeria that you can quickly grab a beer. But I found sometimes that wasn't manned by someone who could do that. And I felt really bad about asking the pizza oven guys to go pour me a draft when it really should have been someone there. It could have been the timing. I'm not going to say that's a common practice, but the random times, and there were several times that I went there, often there was no bartender behind the till to pour me a draft. So that was a little frustrating. But that wasn't the case with Virgin because it was there. So for all of that good, there was way more bad that pushed this far into my number 3 spot. Another thing I wanted to complain about is the taste of the sauce. It was beyond generic. I mean, it was basically ketchup with a little oregano. I'm making that up. I don't know what they put in it, but it was pretty plain and it wasn't appetizing to me. The cheese seemed kind of cardboardy. I don't know how else to explain it. So if you just needed to fill your stomach, I guess you can have that pizza or have sawdust, one or the other. The pizza definitely was not appetizing, and often it was the only thing to have that late in the evening. It closed at, the door said 1:30, but on several occasions they closed much earlier. Now when I say closed, they let people in, but the people behind the counter were already cleaned up about 1:15, right? I get it. They've been working a hard shift. They want to get back to their racks. But this is the situation on all the other cruise ships as well. And they have the ability to keep their pizzerias open. It was one occasion where I came in at 1:25 and everything was being cleaned up. And I said I wanted to order pizza. And the person who was taking my order said, "Oh, but we're almost cleaned up." And I said, "Yeah, and it's 1:25. I'd like a pizza." And I got a lot of dirty looks. However, they were accommodating. I didn't feel an ounce of guilt because they were cleaning up early, and that's not my fault, right? That your sign says 1:30, and I was there at 1:25, so technically, yeah, you should have been ready. And I pushed that point, paid for the privilege to be there, and I certainly was not getting the service that I expected. So I don't want to spiral down a bad rabbit hole because Virgin did so many other things so well. Just in the pizza category, they did not do as well. The review for Best Pizzeria goes to Carnival, and the worst goes to Virgin. Now let's take a look at what the scoreboard looks like now. Moving right along, next category is Best Pool. When I talk about the best pool, on your sea days, you want to have an area where you as an adult can chill out. Without further ado, the best cruise line that did the best job with the pool was Royal. Royal did a fantastic job of keeping adults entertained in the pool area. On top of that, they constantly had staff coming by and taking drink orders. So literally, you didn't have to get up, go to the bar, and order a drink. It's not to say the service wasn't available on the other two cruise lines. It was just that the attention and the frequency of being able to order drinks poolside was far fewer in those instances on both Carnival and Virgin. Royal did a fantastic job of doing that. That's why it gets my number one. Let's take a look at our number three, or the pool in the worst position. Now, I will say both Carnival and Virgin tied at this lower level, so I'm not giving either of them high marks when it comes to their pool for a couple different reasons. So for number one, on Virgin, the actual pool design to me was very dangerous. I talked about this in a prior vlog. I'll probably review this again in another, but the Virgin pool, the way it's designed is you have to step up onto a platform to be able to get access to step down into a shallow waiting area. And the pool is dark blue or black. You know, it's a color that you can't discern exactly where you're stepping or where you're at. It looks great in pictures, but functionally it's rather dangerous. And in fact, I did see someone get hurt trying to step out of that pool. They stepped up onto that higher platform, they slipped and they fell, and the staff quickly went over to that person. The person was more embarrassed than they were hurt, fortunately. But because of that bad design, I am giving low marks to the Virgin pool. The Carnival pool, I'm giving low marks to because it was freezing. But every time I went to the Carnival pool, it was frigid. And it just was not enjoyable. I often found myself kind of dipping my feet, getting up and leaving, and just not using the pool facilities. So for that reason and that reason alone, both Virgin and Carnival to the basement in terms of this ranking, and Royal takes the cake on that one. This is what the scorecard looks like at this point. This next category is going to go rather quick as well. It is the best jacuzzi. Now, the thing I loved about the jacuzzi that I'm picking as number one is the fact that it was so communal. I met so many great people, and in fact, a lot of my new viewers are from that pool. And that number one spot goes to Carnival. Yes, all of my folks who joined me atop of the Serenity deck, looking out upon the masses as we talked about the day's adventures and our lives. I really enjoyed that experience. Thank you all for those who shared their stories and listened to mine. The bartenders eventually knew our names, mostly me, and would bring us drinks that we hadn't even ordered because they knew what we wanted. We were well pampered, well taken care of. So shout out to all of my folks from our jacuzzi, and certainly I hope on another Carnival cruise in the future that we get back together. So now that we have number one out of the way, let's talk about our other placements. So the number two jacuzzi that I would have to say is Royal. The thing I liked about Royal Caribbean's jacuzzi was it really felt like a jacuzzi. The temperature, although not the 101 degrees it should have been, it was certainly up there, and it had plenty of bubbles, and it had a shaded area that made it very nice to protect you from the afternoon sun. It was really good. The downside of that hot tub, however, is that a lot of kids were in it. Now, one of the things I also like about Royal's hot tubs is they have zones. So I'm talking about the hot tub that was in the general family zone. There were certainly hot tubs that were in other parts of the ship, in adult-only parts of the ship. However, when I did try to frequent those hot tubs, they had restrictions on how many people could go in. And at one point, I was hanging out with 3 friends that I met, plus myself, which made 4, and we could not get into the jacuzzi because it was at capacity. And finally, 3 spots opened up, but not 4. And so the person we was hanging with ended up bailing on us because there was just no room. That's one aspect I didn't like about Royal's Jacuzzi. Other than that, was able to get drinks all the time. It was fun. The water was warm. Enjoyed conversations with people when they were there. So nothing to complain about. The number 3 position, or the worst jacuzzi of the 3, was Virgin. That name is coming up a lot lately. There tends to be a trend. However, much like my comments about the design of the pool, I would say the same about the design of the jacuzzi. It was actually separated from the pool area, which I didn't like. I kind of like to be able to either look on the pool like we have with Carnival's design, or have it in the same area so that you have your pool and jacuzzi in close proximity. The way they chose to do it on Virgin ship, and it's a design choice, is they separated the 2 spaces, but it created this huge block that broke up the flow, and it wasn't as enjoyable. Let's move on to the next category, and let's take a look at the scorecard now. Thank you to those who are sticking in there with me. I know this is a long one, but it is a year-end review, so I wanted to give it proper time. If you want to come back and watch the rest of this, please feel free to do so. I'm going to go on with the next. Before I continue on, we're almost done. I promise. We're halfway there. Before I move on, I do want to remind folks, if you're getting value out of the information I'm sharing with you, please choose to like and subscribe and ring the bell. Costs you nothing, means the world to me, and it helps YouTube understand that my content means something to other people. So with that, let's move into our next category. Thank you again. Next up is Best Private Island. Now, I do want to preface this as to say that there are 2 cruise lines that actually own the islands, but they belong to a different country. And then there's one that just visits an island, which keeps its name and doesn't say it's a part of that cruise line, but it's there. So the 3 locations are Perfect Day Coco Cay, and that's on Royal. And then we have the Princess Cay, that's on Carnival. And we have the Island of Bimini, and that's for Virgin. And in the case of Virgin, Bimini is not marketed as a private island as much as it is a private stop. So there's a difference. The number 1 slot for me, hands down, with no hesitation, is Royal's Coco Cay. What else is there to say? You have water skiing. You have activities on the beach. You have plenty of eating spots. You have a tiki hut in the middle of a waiting pool, so people can just swim up to the bar, order drinks, and they're good to go. Not much more to say about the greatness of Coco Cay. I will say in the negative that it tends to be a little expensive. So to partake in some of the activities like swimming with the turtles and the jet skiing, it is a little pricey. That's not to say that the other cruise lines don't have their own pricing model, because they do, but at least Royal is upfront about it. And it does run out. They don't overbook. So if there are 10 slots and 10 people, whether they do it prior to the cruise or during the cruise, fill that up, then it's closed off, and that activity is done. And I like that because that gives like a level of exclusivity, and it makes people who plan ahead, it gives them the upper hand because they planned ahead, they paid for it before they got on the boat, and now they're doing it, and it's closed off for everyone else. What I don't like seeing happening is that there's this artificial supply where the cruise company says, you book, it's going to run out. It comes to capacity, and they just open up more slots for other people, which to me seems like a money grab. Let's not go down that road. By far, Royal's Coco Cay is the best. Next, I'm going to go with Bimini. Although the Virgin's Bimini, although it's not their island, it was nice pulling in exploring the island, a friend of mine suggested that I rent a golf cart and kind of tootle around the island. And as soon as you get off the boat, there are plenty of opportunities to rent these golf carts. So it's not a hard thing to do. We spent a lot of time in port. I also enjoyed going to the local casino, which was in a Hilton hotel, about 5 minutes away from the ship where we were docked, and it was nice. I will say the worst out of this breed is the Carnival Island of Princess K. Now, there are a lot of reasons why I didn't like Princess K. I mentioned some of them earlier on this whole thing about, going for the money grab. So one bad experience, and I had two real bad ones. I'll talk about both of them here. You make up your own mind. It could happen to anyone, whatever. One of them was, ahead of time, I had signed up for an excursion, the glass bottom boats, to, look at the coral reefs in a boat. There were all kinds of other activities. People were fishing. People were doing crazy stuff. I wanted a down day. I didn't want to have to do any crazy activities. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sign up for the glass bottom boats. I signed up for it. We get off the boat. No problems with that. We're scurrying over to fill out our forms to say that we're not going to sue if we get eaten by a shark, right? Did all that sign off. And I noticed that there were groups of people heading off to their excursions. And there were no problems. And there were like just three of us still sitting there. And we were wondering, well, what's going on? Apparently, there were, let's say, I think there were like 16 people who signed up, which would have been plenty for the excursion. And it said very clearly on the ticket, you had to be at the excursion point by 12 o'clock. Otherwise, it's going to leave, right? So all of the three of us who planned ahead, got off the boat, got on our tender, got ashore. We were 15, 20 minutes early. We were told that the captain refuses to go out with just three people and we will wait. Now, the problem with that is if I'm a person who bought a ticket knowing that I had to be there at 12 and it's already 1:30, my thought process isn't going to be, let me just show up and see if I can get on the boat. However, that's the logic that the tour people used, saying, we're just going to wait to see if people come. And of course, those people never came. So I wasted an entire afternoon sitting around waiting for a tour. The second complaint I have about this island is your drink package didn't work on the island. Now, from what I understand, they told everyone, and that's air quotes everyone, that the drink package did not work on the island. Now, this is funny because on Royal Caribbean, when you're on Coco Cay, your drink package most certainly did work on the island, and it was not a big thing. And in fact, on the Princess K for Carnival, they were taking our charges and running them through the system as if we were paying for our things. If we got a drink package, it would be taken off. I didn't realize that I was getting charged for money until I ordered a shot of Patron. And everyone signs receipts. I mean, that's a normal activity. I was doing it all the time, so I wasn't even looking at these receipts. So I'm several drinks in, and I asked for the shot of Patron, and I looked down, and I see the price, and it was pretty expensive. I'm not going to reveal the prices here, but you can imagine, shot of Patron on a private island. And I said, I think there's a mistake here, because there's a charge. I said, no mistake. Everyone has to pay for their drinks here. I said, since when? I have the drink package. Oh, that doesn't work here. Oh, it doesn't work here? Then why are you swiping my card if it doesn't work here? Oh, no, we've always done this. We said to people, that it didn't work here. I didn't get that memo. Now, let me tell you this. They have little tents up saying, here's the drink special of the day. They're announcing on the loudspeaker, bring your sunblock, and all this other stuff, all this other extraneous information they're sharing with us. But the one most important thing about, don't forget that your key does not, or your drink package does not count on the island, they weren't telling, right? So later on that day, now that was my situation. I sent back the drink and I refused to whatever, and that was done. Later on that day, I heard story after story after story. There was one guy who was well over $150 worth of drinking on the island. Didn't realize until he got back that that's coming out of his pocket on top of the drink package he had. He was not happy, and I don't blame him. So because of that, Carnival moves to the bottom of my list. This is what the scorecard looks like at this point. Let's take a look at another category. How's your energy? Mine is great. The next category we're going to dive into quickly is the best balcony cabin. Well, what does that mean? So there are multiple cabin types that you can choose on a cruise. The one that I most frequently book is a cabin. I did on all 3 cruises, and I'm about to give you my review on all of them. Without much fanfare, I will tell you that hands down, Virgin knocked the ball out of the park. Their cabin is extraordinary. Some of the things, and again, I don't want to give too much away because I want you to book a Virgin cruise and experience some of this on your own. But I'll tell you a little bit about this cabin. This cabin, as soon as you open the door, the blinds open up. Well, you say, oh, wow, that's kind of cool, but what else? Well, there's a lot of what else. I did a video on talking about the cabin already that you can look at. Because of the length of this one, I'm not going to go much detail into it. But suffice to say that you cannot beat the contemporary look, the comfortable decor, the types of technology that's in the room. You can't beat it. On top of that, on the actual balcony, you have a hammock, as well as your traditional 2 beach chairs. So I had the ability to lay back in my hammock and sway with the motion of the ocean and just relax while I was on the cruise. So by far, no argument anywhere that Virgin has the most comfortable and modern cabins afloat. My second one would be Royal. And Royal for me, it's comfortable, but it's not that other world level comfortable that I had on Virgin. To me, Royal reminds me of almost like a cookie cutter type of balcony, right? You have the standard furniture, it fits, it's comfortable, it's functional, but there's no pizzazz to it. And the argument is you're not spending much time in your room, and you should be out on the boat doing other things. Basically, what I keep getting with Royal's decor is it's very utilitarian. It's hard to say that word, but I said it. It's very utilitarian in the sense that there's a bed, there's a pillow, there's a blanket, there's a head, you have a desk, you have a light, the TV works. Nothing that's going to have you write home about it, but it's not uncomfortable. It is what it is, and if you just take it for that, then you'll be fine, and you don't spend much time in the room. Let's now talk about Carnival. Now, unfortunately, the ship I was on was an older ship. However, this ship did go through dry dock, and it was supposed to be refitted with modern conveniences. I don't know what they spent their money on, but it wasn't on upgrading the rooms. The room was certainly dated looking. I saw areas of rust in various parts of the room. Part of the furniture was falling apart. Even my room itself, there were big gaps in the ceiling. You could look up in the mirror and see holes. The bathroom, my toilet worked, but I heard my next door neighbor complaining about the toilet not flushing. It was just a mess. The cabins were not great. Now, I will say my cabin attendant was the greatest person on the planet because he was. In fact, out of all 3 of my cabin attendants, I would say the one on Carnival, my cabin attendant on Carnival, was the most helpful and paid most attention to me and helped me out with a lot of things. But barring that, if I'm just rating the accommodations, big thumbs down. Carnival really sits at the bottom of that barrel when you look at the accommodations across the 3. So number 1 is Virgin, number 2 is Royal, and number 3 is Carnival. And strangely enough, that is the order of the cruises that I went on. So if I'm a prognosticator, or a soothsayer, I'll remember to switch up the order of my cruises so I have a better experience. That's in jest. Now we will move on to our next category, and this is the result of this round. I hope this next category doesn't come as a complete surprise. We're looking at the best cocktails. All three cruise lines did a phenomenal job. In fact, so much so that I don't have to go into much detail here. All three of them are getting the wave on this one. They all did exemplary work, and I provided some pictures of the types of cocktails I had. They could have done hundreds more. In fact, the limiting factor was my ability to come up with drinks. I tried to throw some curveballs at him that tripped him up a little bit, like a French 75 and an A1. But, much other than that, they were able to come up with every drink. The recipes were delicious. Little twists on other recipes that I've had. But still, the drinks were phenomenal. So all of them get a vote. And let's move on to the next category. This is what the scorecard looks like now. Moving right along, this next one is fast and easy and should put a smile on your face. It did when I thought about it. The next category is Best Towel Policy. I think I originally called it Best Pool Towel Policy because that's likely where you're going to use these towels is at the pool. I think Virgin has the best policy. And the reason why I think they have the best policy, because they don't have a policy. All the other cruise lines will charge you money if you don't return a towel. So you could check out a towel and then return a towel. Worst offender in all of this is Royal Caribbean. In fact, they check you out for $25 if you don't return your towel. And often you'll go back to your room with a wet towel, or someone will swipe your towel and you're still on the hook to deliver that towel. Now, it hasn't happened to me because I keep an eye on that towel like a hawk. $25 is $25. I have heard people complaining. I'm sure they work it out at the desk, but the best in this policy is Virgin, because I think because they're so new and they haven't had many issues with towels, they don't have a policy. You can take as many as you want, as many as you need, return them, take them onto the private island, take them off. It just doesn't matter. And these are plush, body towels. They're great. I just hope they don't change that policy. I have a feeling, though, over time they're going to have to, because people just love messing up a good thing. But Virgin wins that one. In second place comes Carnival, and then down in the basement is Royal. Let's now take a look at the scorecard and see where we're at. We are almost done. Just a few more left. Please hang in. Yet another funny entry in all of this. I put this one together because we are in the holiday season, albeit the year is done and we're leaving this 2021's holiday season for greener pastures in 2022. But before we left 2021, I would be remiss if I did not add the category of Best Gingerbread House. Any cruise line that paid attention to such detail definitely shows what they feel about their guests. The clear winner in this category is Royal Caribbean. I'll let you take a look at the pictures, but they went crazy with their gingerbread house. They had a whole gingerbread village. So much so that I wanted to shrink down and live in a couple of those condos that they built. It was really nice. The next one, number 2, was Carnival. They had a nice village there and respectable. At least I enjoyed it. But what really the Scrooge McDuff of this whole thing was on Virgin. So they may have had a gingerbread house. I just didn't see it and I didn't know where it was. And I apologize if I did miss it, but I didn't see it and it didn't feel like Christmas or New Year's or anything else. It just felt like it was a cruise. A very nice cruise, but it didn't have that spirit. Virgin did have some theme nights that were really fun, but it's not quite like a Christmas village with gingerbread. I grew up with that. I enjoyed that, and they just didn't have it. So there you go. that's the order. We have Royal in first place. We have Carnival in second place with their offering. And we have Virgin a distant third because I didn't find their offering or they just didn't have it. So that's how that round goes. Let's see what the scorecard looks like now. We head down to the last couple of categories. I bet you're excited. This evaluation is getting easier and easier. For this category, we're going to talk about the best towel animals. I'm not going to waste your time or mine. I will just say that all three get a win on this one. They were phenomenally done. Every animal you can think of, every shape you can think of across the three cruises, so much so that it would be a waste of time to try to show you them all, but they were all artisans in their own right, and all three get a vote in the positive on this one. Let's take a look at what the scorecard looks like now. Our journey has brought us back to the old stomach. Yes, this next category is best steak. I'm not even going to waste you all's time. The best steak is on Royal in the Chops Grill. Now, you might want to say, well, who's 2 and who's 3 on this list? Both Virgin and Carnival fall way by the wayside, and they're both in the bottom. None of them get a 2. They're both 3s, so they're sharing that bottom slot. I don't even know where to begin. You know what my best is, and I'll show you some pictures of my best. But let me just talk about for a couple minutes how bad the steak was on Carnival. I will tell you that it was rubbery, had very little taste. I unfortunately did not have an opportunity to eat at Carnival's version of their steakhouse, which I wanted to do. I just didn't get an opportunity to do that. I'll do that on my next Carnival cruise. But the steak I got was from main dining, and it was horrible. My gripe with Virgin is I asked them for a medium steak, and they bought me out shoe leather. I exaggerate, but not really. I think I have a picture that I could share of what this medium steak looked like. You could clearly see that it was more medium to well done. They killed it with salt. It was very, very tough to chew. My experience in the Virgin steak restaurant was great. You know, the service was great, ambiance was great, but the food just wasn't. I particularly enjoyed my sides, which were nice, but I go to a steakhouse for the steak, not the sides. On top of that, Virgin has a weird policy that they won't allow you to take the food out of the dining room. So I partly finished my meal and wanted to bring it back to my cabin, and the person waiting on me refused to let me do that. It was a big thing. They went to ask the chef. The chef said, we don't do that. They said that to come back for lunch and they'll make the same thing for me. I was like, I don't need another one whole thing of these. I just need to finish what I ordered. And it was a big hassle, so I ended up wasting, which I don't like doing, but I had to. They gave me no other choice. So that's what I'll say about that. We have Royal as number 1 with Chops, and we have tied at the bottom for Carnival and Virgin, tie for that last spot. Let's see what we have for our overall count. The next evaluation is the best shore excursions. It's going to be easy. All 3 of them hit the ball right out of the park. I will say, though, it is prudent that as you pull into ports, that you understand the pros and cons of taking a ship-sponsored excursion versus doing an excursion outside the ship. Doing an excursion outside the ship is going to allow you to spend less money, but you risk being a pier runner, which you don't want to do. Exclusively booking with the cruise line is going to expose you to inordinate prices at times when you could definitely do it cheaper. The other caveat we have during this pandemic time is anyone with kids who cannot be properly vaccinated, they are forced to take the shore excursions of the cruise lines. And this is a CDC requirement. So be mindful of that. But in terms of rating these, all 3 of them do a wonderful job putting together adventurous activities for their guests. and they're all going to get a point on that one. Let's take a look at the categories now. Congratulations, you made it to the end. We just have the final category, which is the best overall cruise line out of the three that I sailed, which was, again, which you're pretty familiar with at this time, Virgin Voyages, Royal Caribbean, and Carnival Cruise Lines. Of the three, this is pretty academic at this point. We could look at the scorecard and see the overall winner is Royal Caribbean. I thought it would be that way anyway. I also did do statistics on a lot of the negative things we talked about. I'm not going to go into those in detail, but that worked out so that the worst cruise line, based on my criteria, was Virgin Voyages. Now, Carnival was close. If you ask me, I would say Carnival actually fared worse. But if we did the strict numbers and, ticked off all the things that were good and bad, Virgin actually came out ahead of Carnival. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this. Happy New Year and have a safe 2022. I will see you on other cruise adventures. Thank you for hanging in with Travel Like an Oching. Remember to like and subscribe and click that bell